During a power outage, my wife didn't realize I'd come home early. In the darkness, I heard her tell our neighbor, "Once the insurance pays out for his accident next month, you and I can finally be together." They clinked wine glasses, planning my demise. I quietly left and returned later with a flashlight, acting surprised to find them together. 2 weeks later, my phone started receiving her increasingly desperate voice messages. Thing is, Ellie and I have been together for 8 years, married for 6. We met at a friend's New Year's party back when people still did that kind of thing, before COVID ruined everything. Not gonna pretend our marriage has been perfect. We've had our ups and downs like anyone. The spark wasn't quite what it used to be, but I figured that was just normal long-term relationship stuff, you know? Our neighborhood's been having these rolling blackouts lately because of some grid maintenance BS. Usually not a big deal. Couple hours, flip the breakers, life goes on. Last month, Ellie kept bringing up life insurance, saying we should increase my policy just in case. Made sense at the time. Our hot water heater was leaking, roof needed fixing after that big storm, and money's been tight. So I signed the papers, bumping it to $500,000. Didn't think twice about it. Eduardo moved in next door about a year ago after his divorce. Seemed like an alright dude. Started coming over to borrow tools, asked for help with his lawn mower, that kind of thing. Looking back, those little repairs probably didn't need my help, but whatever. Ellie started inviting him for dinner sometimes, said she felt bad for him being all alone. She'd get all dressed up for these dinners. Way more effort than when it was just us. Flirting on the plate, but I ignored it. Anyway, last Tuesday we had another blackout scheduled for 6 p.m. I was headed home early cause my buddy cancelled our plans. No biggie. Didn't text Ellie about it. Phone was at like 2% anyway. I pull up around 5:30, just as the power cuts out. Perfect timing, right? FML. Our garage door opener's busted, another thing on my fix-it list, so I parked on the street and used the side door. Whole house is already dark, but I hear voices in the kitchen. Ellie's laughing, not her normal laugh, but that high-pitched one she uses when she's trying to impress someone. Then I hear Eduardo's voice too. Look, I'm not the jealous type. Figured they were just hanging out. But something felt off. So instead of announcing myself, I just stood there in the hallway. House was dark enough they couldn't see me. That's when I heard it. Ellie was talking about the plan and how it needed to look like an accident. Eduardo asked if she was sure about the timing. Then, clear as day, I heard Ellie say, "Once the insurance pays out for his accident next month, you and I can finally be together." The fucking wine glasses clinked right after that. They were toasting to my death. My brain just short-circuited, like when you're driving and suddenly realize you've gone 10 miles without remembering any of it. I felt sick. Hot. Cold. Everything at once. But I didn't storm in there screaming. Somehow I just quietly backed away and went outside. Sat in my car for maybe 20 minutes, just breathing, trying to process that my wife of 6 years was actually planning to kill me for insurance money. With the neighbor, like some fucking Dateline NBC episode. Thing is, I've never been the smartest guy, but I'm not stupid either. Making a scene right then would have accomplished nothing except warning them that I knew. So I drove around aimlessly until it was fully dark, maybe 7 p.m. stopped at the convenience store, bought some flashlights, water, and snacks. Acted like I was just being prepared for the blackout. When I got back home, I made plenty of noise coming in, called out Ellie's name like everything was normal. She answered from the kitchen, voice all weird and high. I walked in with the flashlights, and there they were, 2 wine glasses on the table. Eduardo looking guilty as fuck. Ellie with this fake surprised face, asking why I was home early. I played dumb. Said my buddy cancelled, handed them each a flashlight, acted like finding them together was no big deal. Eduardo made some excuse about just stopping by to check if we had power too. I even offered him a beer, watching him squirm as he declined and said he should get going. The next 2 hours were the weirdest of my life, sitting there with Ellie by candlelight, making small talk while knowing she was literally planning my death. She kept checking her phone, texting someone. 3 guesses who. I noticed she'd put on her good perfume, the one she only wears for special occasions. She'd also changed into that blue top I always say looks nice on her. For Eduardo. Not for me. Over the next few days, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Ellie's been working late a lot. Her phone suddenly got a passcode. She's been asking weird questions about my schedule, if I'm planning any solo trips. Acting extra nice sometimes, then distant others. Classic Sue's behavior, as my nephew would say. Then I found the browser history she forgot to clear, searches for undetectable poisons, how to make death look like an accident, and average life insurance payout time. Yeah, that obvious. Like watching a toddler try to hide that they stole candy. I also discovered they'd been messaging on some encrypted chat app. Couldn't see the messages, but the notifications showed they were talking constantly. Meanwhile, Ellie's barely speaking to me except to ask about my upcoming fishing trip with my brothers. The one she insisted I should go on next month, even though she's always hated me going before. Last weekend, I accidentally knocked over her purse. Out fell a small bottle of something that definitely wasn't medicine or perfume. No label. She snatched it up so fast and got super defensive when I asked what it was. Said it was just vitamins, but looked like she'd seen a ghost. The final straw was overhearing her on the phone yesterday. She thought I was in the shower, but I just turned on the water and was actually grabbing something from the bedroom. She was telling someone, 100% Eduardo, that it has to look natural, we need to stick to the timeline, and then something about how the fishing trip would be perfect because accidents happen all the time out there, so here I am. My wife of 6 years is actively plotting to kill me for insurance money so she can run off with the neighbor, and they're not even being smart about it. I've been sleeping with one eye open, checking everything I eat or drink. Haven't told anyone yet because, TBH, it sounds insane. Who would believe this shit? Plus, part of me still can't accept that this is happening, that the woman I've shared a bed with for 8 years wants me dead. So here's my plan. I'm backing up all evidence I can find, screenshots of her search history, photos of that weird bottle, recordings of anything suspicious she says. I've already moved most of our savings to an account she can't access. Told the bank I suspected fraud on our joint account, not technically a lie. I'm going to see a lawyer tomorrow. Quietly. Need to know my options. I've started recording everything in our house. Ordered some small cameras from Amazon that arrived today. She doesn't know they're there. I'm pretending everything is normal while watching her dig herself deeper. Thing is, I could just confront her. Just leave. But after 8 years together, after how coldly she planned this, nah. That's not enough. I want her to face consequences. Real ones. I want Eduardo to face consequences too. Look, I know revenge isn't healthy or whatever, but I'm not just gonna roll over while they plan my accident. I'm going to make them regret ever thinking I was someone they could fuck with. We'll update when I have more. For now, I'm playing along with their little game while setting up my own. Chess, not checkers. Anyone been through something similar? Am I crazy for not just confronting her or going to the police? Part of me still can't believe this is my life now. Update. First off, holy shit, my last post blew up like a tire with a nail in it. Thanks for all the awards, DMs, and advice. For those asking for an update, here it is. Fair warning, this is gonna be a long one. Look, these past 2 weeks have been the weirdest of my life. Walking around my own house knowing my wife wants me dead hits different, you know? It's like driving a car that you know has bad brakes, just waiting for the crash to happen. But I've been keeping my cool. Acting normal. Even had sex with Ellie twice, which was complicated. She seemed distracted the whole time, probably thinking about Eduardo or maybe how to poison me after. SMH. Thing is, I met with that lawyer I mentioned. Older dude with a messy office and 3 divorces under his belt, perfect for my situation. He gave me some solid advice that basically boiled down to document everything, protect myself financially, and gather evidence. No shit, right? But having a professional tell me I'm not crazy helped more than I expected. First order of business was cash. Had about 16 grand in our joint savings, not much, but it's what we had after buying the house and dealing with that basement flood last year. I couldn't just empty the account. Too obvious. So I came up with a plan. I told Ellie I had a gambling problem. Yeah, I know how that sounds, but hear me out. I confessed to her that I'd been secretly gambling online for months and lost a couple grand. Said I needed help, was going to join a support group, the whole 9 yards. Even showed her some fake betting history I made on Photoshop. Thanks. YouTube tutorials. She bought it completely. Even did that whole supportive wife thing, rubbing my back, saying we'd get through it together. Oscar-worthy performance, considering she's planning my funeral. The beauty of this gambling problem is that it explains any weird money move. I moved most of our savings to a new account, leaving just enough to not raise suspicion. Told her it was to protect me from myself. Also explained why we needed separate accounts for a while. She loved that idea, but she was thinking how convenient it would be after I'm gone. Next, I needed to start creating problems between Ellie and Eduardo. A marriage is like an engine, looks complicated from the outside, but it's just a bunch of moving parts that can each be messed with separately. I noticed Eduardo gets super jealous when Ellie talks to other guys. At our neighbor's cookout last weekend, I watched how his face changed when she was chatting with the host. So I started casually mentioning other men when talking to Ellie. Oh, that guy from her office texted asking about some work thing. Just innocent stuff, but always when I knew Eduardo might overhear or she might mention it to him later. Then I accidentally sent Eduardo a text meant for Ellie about how she looked amazing in that outfit she wore to meet her friend after work, a meeting that never happened. Deleted it right after with a quick sorry, wrong person. But damage done. His reply was just NP, but you could practically hear the suspicion through the phone. For Ellie, I started planting doubts about Eduardo's finances. Mentioned offhand that I heard his business was struggling. Asked if she knew he was behind on his HOA payments. His not. I made that up. Little breadcrumbs of doubt. Thing is, watching them squirm has been weirdly satisfying. I'm not normally like this. I've never been the guy who enjoys other people's misery, but knowing they were planning to kill me changes the rules. The cameras I installed caught some interesting convos. They're still planning the accident on my fishing trip, but now there's tension. In one video, Ellie asked Eduardo about some woman who keeps commenting on his social media posts. He got defensive as fuck. In another, they argued about the money. Seems Eduardo is expecting a bigger cut than Ellie wants to give him. Trouble in murder paradise. I've been collecting all these recordings, screenshots, everything. Building my case. Even recorded myself opening that unmarked bottle from her purse. Used gloves. Turned out to be some kind of powder. Sent a small sample to one of those mail-in testing services. Results should be back next week. Meanwhile, I've been creating what my lawyer calls a pattern of close calls. Basically making it look like I've been having weird accidents. Mentioned to Ellie that I almost fell down the stairs carrying laundry. Another day I came home with a bandage on my arm. Told her I swerved to avoid a cat while driving and scraped against a wall. Nothing major. Just enough to make her and Eduardo nervous that I might accidentally die before their big plan. The look on her face each time, a weird mix of concern and disappointment, like she's worried I'll beat her to the punch by dying on my own. SMH. Last week I started the financial chaos phase. Discovered some unauthorized credit card charges, called the bank while Ellie was home, made a big show of being worried about identity theft. Had all our cards cancelled, new ones issued. The temporary freeze on our accounts made Ellie panic, kept checking her phone, texting frantically to Eduardo, obviously. I've never seen someone so stressed about not being able to use a credit card for 3 days. Oh, and I randomly mentioned to our neighbor across the street, who happens to be besties with Eduardo's ex-wife, that I was thinking about looking into real estate investments and heard Eduardo might have some good tips. Casually dropped that we'd been seeing a lot of him lately, especially when I'm not home. The look on her face told me all I needed to know, that gossip was going to spread fast. Thing is, my plan isn't just about messing with them psychologically. It's about creating a safety net for myself while making them increasingly desperate and sloppy. I took an unexpected day off on Wednesday, didn't tell Ellie, parked down the street, and watched our house. Sure enough, Eduardo showed up an hour after I would normally have left. Stayed for 3 hours. I got it all on video from my phone. When I checked my home cameras later, they were talking about the timeline again. Eduardo seemed stressed, saying they needed to be more careful. Ellie assured him everything would be fine once they took care of things next month. Here's where it gets interesting. I decided to test how committed they really were. Told Ellie I was cancelling the fishing trip next month, said my brother broke his ankle, he didn't, and we're postponing. The colour drained from her face. She actually tried to convince me to go alone. Said I deserved some me time and shouldn't miss out just because of my brother. The same woman who's complained about my fishing trips for years suddenly can't wait to get me on that lake alone. Red flag factory. The psychological warfare is working. Ellie's been making careless mistakes. Left her phone unlocked on the counter yesterday. I got a quick look. Text to Eduardo saying, we need a new plan, and getting worried about the money situation. Also found receipts for some sketchy online purchases in her email. One was for some untraceable phone, another for a keylogger. Guess she's trying to spy on me too. Amateur hour. Last night was the biggest move yet. I disappeared for 48 hours. Didn't tell Ellie where I was going, didn't answer my phone, just vanished. Stayed at a motel 2 towns over, used cash, kept my phone off. For all they knew, I might be dead in a ditch somewhere. The cameras caught their reaction. Ellie called Eduardo in a panic about 6 hours after I should have been home. He came over. They searched the house, checked my social media, called hospitals, not out of concern. They were scared. Eduardo kept saying, this wasn't part of the plan, we weren't ready. Ellie was worried about the insurance. Apparently you need a body to claim that sweet payout. I came home Sunday evening like nothing happened. Said I needed some time to clear my head. Went camping by myself. The look on Ellie's face was priceless. Relief mixed with annoyance mixed with confusion. She tried to act angry that I'd worried her, but I could see her mind racing, recalculating. That night I heard her on the phone in the bathroom. The walls in our house are thin, and she was whispering loudly. Caught bits about getting suspicious and need to move fast and can't wait much longer. They're getting desperate, making mistakes. So here's where things stand now. I've secured most of our money. I've collected solid evidence of their plotting. I've created tension between them. They're increasingly paranoid and sloppy. I've convinced Ellie I have no clue what's happening. Thing is, I'm not done yet. Not even close. Phase 2 starts tomorrow. I've cancelled that life insurance policy they were so excited about. Paperwork went through yesterday. Ellie doesn't know yet. When she finds out, well, that should be interesting. I'm also meeting Eduardo for beers tomorrow. Yeah, you read that right. Called him up, said we should hang out, get to know each other better since he's around so much. He couldn't say no without looking suspicious. Planning to get him drunk, see what I can get him to say. Maybe plant some more seeds about Ellie's other friends. The final touch, I'm going on that fishing trip after all, but not the way they're expecting. We'll update again when there's more to share. For those worried about my safety, don't be. I sleep with my door locked, prepare my own food, and have a friend checking in with me daily. These two aren't criminal masterminds. They're a bored housewife and a desperate dude who think they're smarter than they are. Final update. Hey Reddit, a lot of you have been DMing me asking what happened, if I'm still alive, etc. Spoiler alert, I am. And things have evolved. Buckle up, this is gonna be a long one. Look, that beer with Eduardo I mentioned in my last post? It went better than I could have imagined. Met him at this dive bar downtown. Place with sticky floors and cheap pictures. Told Ellie I was meeting some buddies from my gambling support group. She actually encouraged me to go, probably hoping I'd wrap my car around a tree on the way home. Thing is, Eduardo can't handle his alcohol for shit. 3 beers in and his slurring, getting all emotional about his divorce, his money problems, his complicated situation. I played dumb, just nodding along, buying more rounds. By beer 5, I casually mentioned that Ellie seemed stressed lately, asked if he knew why. That's when things got interesting. He started rambling about how plans change and people aren't always who they say they are. Then dropped this bomb. Ellie had apparently been talking to her ex recently, said she'd been keeping options open. Eduardo was clearly pissed about it. Feeling played. I acted surprised, asked more questions, recorded the whole thing on my phone in my pocket. Then I mentioned that life insurance policy. Told him I'd been thinking about cancelling it since premiums were too high with my gambling problem. His face went from drunk relaxed to oh shit in 0.2 seconds. Started rambling about how insurance is really important and I should definitely keep it. Then immediately changed the subject. Amateur hour. When I got home that night, Ellie was waiting up, asked how the guys were. I told her great, then mentioned I ran into Eduardo at the bar, said he seemed upset about some woman he's been seeing who's playing games. The look on her face. Priceless. Like when you know the check engine light isn't just a sensor issue. Next morning, the real fun began. I got an email notification that the life insurance policy cancellation was complete. Left the email open on my laptop accidentally when I went to shower. When I came back, Ellie was making breakfast, hands shaking slightly, asked if everything was okay. She muttered something about a headache. Sure, Jan. That same day, I discovered fraudulent activity on our remaining joint account. Called the bank with Ellie right there. Made a big show about how someone must have stolen our info. Account frozen pending investigation. Ellie nearly had a panic attack but tried to hide it. Asked when it would be unfrozen. I shrugged, said could be days, could be weeks. The bank needed to verify all recent transactions, including those cash withdrawals she'd been making. You know, the ones she thought I didn't notice. Things escalated when I got a call from the testing service about that powder from Ellie's purse. Not poison, thankfully, just crushed sleeping pills. Strong ones. Prescription strength. Guess their plan was to knock me out before staging the accident. The call came while Ellie was in the room. I pretended it was about a job application but made sure to repeat test results and sample loud enough for her to hear. Watched her face drain of color. Meanwhile, my anonymous tip to Eduardo's workplace about possible ethics violations started bearing fruit. Got this panicked text from him asking if Ellie had mentioned anything about his work situation. I played dumb again. Later overheard Ellie on the phone with him, something about an internal review and how he needed to stay calm. My hidden cameras caught her pacing, telling him they needed to put everything on hold. Then came the nuclear option. I left my laptop open again, but this time with a draft email to a divorce lawyer visible. Detailed all my suspicions about Ellie's affair with Eduardo, mentioned the life insurance policy, the mysterious powder, everything. Made it look like I was gathering evidence but hadn't sent it yet. Then I accidentally left location sharing on my phone turned on and went to meet with my actual lawyer, making sure the location showed I was at a law office. When I got home, Ellie was in full damage control mode, made my favorite dinner, suggested we watch that sci-fi movie I'd been wanting to see, even initiated sex for the first time in months, all while her phone kept buzzing with texts she was clearly trying to ignore. Eduardo going full panic mode, no doubt. The next day, I dropped the bomb. Sat Ellie down and calmly told her I knew about her and Eduardo, not the murder plot, just the affair. Said I'd seen texts, noticed the pattern of him coming over when I was gone. Told her I wanted a divorce. Her reaction wasn't what I expected. She admitted to the affair but swore it was over. Said Eduardo had been pressuring her for money, threatening to tell me everything if she didn't pay up. Claimed she'd been trying to end things for weeks. Tears, begging, the whole show. Not a word about the murder plot. Just painting Eduardo as the villain while she was the poor manipulated victim. I nodded along, said I needed time to think, asked her to stay with her sister for a few days. She reluctantly agreed. The moment she left, I sent Eduardo a carefully edited recording of Ellie from my hidden cameras. Just the parts where she talked about him being unstable, threatening her. Made it look like she'd thrown him completely under the bus. His response? A barrage of texts calling her every name in the book. Said she was the one who came up with the whole plan in the first place. Claimed she'd promised him they'd split everything 50-50 after it was done. Didn't specifically mention murder, but close enough. I saved every message. While they were busy imploding, I executed the financial endgame. Filed for divorce citing infidelity with evidence. My lawyer helped me secure temporary orders freezing most of our assets. Changed the locks on the house. Legally my name's the only one on the deed. cut off Ellie's access to what little remained in our joint accounts. Eduardo's situation deteriorated even faster. That ethics investigation turned up some actual shady dealings. He got suspended pending review. His ex-wife heard rumors about him and Ellie and filed for a modification of their divorce settlement, claiming he'd hidden assets. The house of cards was collapsing. Thing is, watching them self-destruct should have felt better than it did. Don't get me wrong, there's satisfaction in seeing justice play out. But there's also this hollow feeling. 8 years of marriage reduced to this toxic endgame. Some nights I still wake up wondering how I never saw the signs earlier. About a week after Ellie left, the voice messages started. First few were angry. How could I do this to her? I had no proof. She'd get what she deserved in the divorce. Then they shifted, became pleading, desperate. She couldn't access any money. Her sister was kicking her out. Eduardo was threatening her. Could she please just come home to talk? I saved every message without responding. Each one more desperate than the last. The turning point came 3 days ago. I was clearing out some of Ellie's things when I found a notebook tucked behind the dresser. Inside, detailed notes about my schedule, my habits, lists of accidents that could happen naturally, research on life insurance payouts and waiting periods, and most damning, a step-by-step plan for the fishing trip, including Eduardo's role in making sure I didn't come back. That night I texted Ellie, asked her to meet me at a coffee shop the next day. Public place, lots of witnesses. When she arrived, she looked terrible, hadn't slept, clearly stressed. Started immediately with the victim routine. I let her talk for 5 minutes straight. When she finally paused for breath, I silently slid the notebook across the table. The look on her face, like watching a transmission fail in real time. Complete system shutdown. She tried stammering some explanation about it being fiction for a writing class she was taking. I just stared at her. Finally told her I knew everything. Had from the beginning. The power outage. The wine glasses. The entire murder plot. Then I laid out her options. Option 1. I take everything I have, the recordings, the notebook, the powder test results, Eduardo's texts basically admitting the plot, to the police. Option 2. She signs the divorce papers I brought with me. Terms are non-negotiable. She gets nothing except her personal belongings and her car. No alimony, no house equity, no shared assets. And she leaves town permanently. She sat there for what felt like forever, just staring at the notebook. Finally asked in this small voice if I'd really known all along. When I nodded, she started laughing, not happy laughter. That broken kind that's one step from crying. Said she'd thought I was too stupid to notice anything. That's why they'd chosen me, easy target, decent insurance payout. Thing is, hearing her say that out loud should have hurt. But it didn't. I felt nothing. Like watching a stranger talk about someone else entirely. She wasn't the woman I'd married. Maybe never had been. She signed the papers right there. Didn't even read them. Asked if I'd really go to the police if she didn't comply. The look I gave her was answer enough. As she was leaving, she turned back, asked how long I'd known. I told her since the power outage. She just shook her head, mumbled something about how different things could have been, and walked out. Eduardo didn't get off any easier. I sent him screenshots of the notebook pages along with a simple message. Leave town or I take this to the police. He didn't even respond. Just listed his house for sale the next day. So here we are. Divorce papers filed. House is quiet. Their lives are in shambles while I'm, well, not great, but intact. Moving forward. For those wondering about the powder, yeah, I got the full test results. Enough sedatives to knock out a horse. Would have made it easy to stage that fishing accident they had planned. Where things stand now, Ellie's staying with a friend 2 towns over. No job, no money, reputation destroyed after I accidentally let our mutual friends know about the affair. The murder plot stays between us, for now. Eduardo's house is for sale, his career in ruins, his ex-wife reopening their divorce case. Karma's a bitch. I'm seeing a therapist. Turns out discovering your wife of 6 years wanted you dead leaves some emotional scars. Who knew? That dating app one downloaded last week. Already had coffee with someone. Nothing serious. Just nice to remember normal people exist. Thing is, I'm not the same person I was before all this. More cautious, less trusting, but also stronger in ways I never expected. Like an engine that's been rebuilt after catastrophic failure. Different parts, same function, maybe even running better than before. Some of you have asked if I regret not going to the police. Honestly, sometimes. But prosecution would have been messy, public, and with no guarantee they'd serve real time. This way, they lost everything that mattered to them: money, reputation, security, while I get to rebuild quietly. Life's weird. One power outage changed everything. If I'd come home at the normal time that day, I might be dead by now, floating face down in a lake while Ellie cashed in my life insurance. Instead, I'm sitting in my house, drinking my beer, and sharing this final update with internet strangers who've been weirdly supportive through this whole clusterfuck. Sometimes the best revenge isn't some elaborate scheme. It's just making people face the consequences of their actions while you walk away intact. So that's it. Story over. No more updates after this one. Time to close this chapter and start something new.